Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Cinesmack contains spoilers of the spoiling type. If you don't want your spoilers spoiled, please turn back now. Otherwise, enjoy the show!
Gentlemen, let's broaden our minds. Lawrence?
Ladies and gentlemen! Welcome to the main event! This is Cinesmack! And the winner is...
Hello, Cinesmacketeers, and welcome to bout number 135 of Cinesmack, the podcast about films by filmmakers. I am your host, Mike Keeler. Joining me tonight is our panel of award-winning judges. First, filmmaker and owner of Arizona Ink Studios, Mr. Andrew Zumwalt.
Trouble never sends a warning.
Second, filmmaker and owner of Cheshire Moon Films, Mr. Timothy Haggis.
We had a little discussion before the show, and we've decided that I am my own bitch now.
Third, writer, actor, and director, Mr. Kyle Fine.
You know, when I watch these movies, I think, what separates me from these people? And I can only come up with a few things. Athleticism, looks, brains, seduction, attractiveness, looks, and blonde hair.
I think you hit the blonde hair right on the head.
Yeah, I've always been a brunette, and it's holding me back.
Mm-hmm. It is. Fourth, filmmaker and owner of One Genome Short Productions, Mr.
Cocksucker.
It's perfect. Perfect.
All right, let's poke the monkey.
Ladies and gentlemen, bombshell badasses and multiple murdering models, welcome to the main event. Tonight, two femme fatales face off for film fame. Which will bang the bullseye and which will miss the mark? In the first quarter, from 2017, written by Kurt Johnstad, Anthony Johnston, and Sam Hart. Directed by David Leitch. Starring Charlize Theron, James McAvoy, and John Goodman. Atomic Blonde. In the second quarter, from 2019, written and directed by Luc Besson, starring Sasha Luce, Helen Mirren, and Luke Evans. Anna!
Okay, well, one of the four of you has been telling me that I needed to watch Atomic Blonde a lot, like ever since they watched it. That was Tom. And I enjoyed it. And I also enjoyed Anna. So I can't wait to see what you guys have to say about both these films. And considering we're having such a quick turnaround from last week, catching up with May, I'm sure you will have a lot more to say than what you did last time. So let's go to our first round, which is writing.
Writing. Okay. So where do we begin? Both movies are written, that's for sure. There are words. Some of those words come out of people's mouths. Some of them describe things that are happening. No, for real though. These movies are really similar in their construction. I think the major separating point as we discuss pros and cons here is going to be the execution, or how well thought out those things are. When we look at Atomic Blonde, it's really kind of a... I don't know, the word's not simpler, but it seems to me more like straightforward. And there's a lot of what you expect from spy movies, you know, the subterfuge, and there's a ton of action written into it. And I know we'll get into that in later things. So, but you know, some of the writing I think comes into play when you're talking about ideas for set pieces and you know, back and forth conflicts and things like that. So we can touch on it a bit. But I think both these movies, well, I say Atomic Blonde, in my opinion, was pretty well written. And it felt very long. It felt kind of overwritten in parts, and like I had too much going on. And I would say the twist at the end, not to give any spoilers, is like one thing too many. It was just like, I don't know, I didn't buy it. So that kind of left me feeling flat. But for the most part throughout the movie, I thought it was competently written. And well, I mean, we'll talk about the construction later, but nothing wowed me. It wasn't, you know, like stellar or out of this world or anything like that. And on the other hand, I think has a lot more gaps and holes. I think it's a much more, I mean, despite some of the violence and you know, some of the bad outcomes we see in Atomic Blonde, Anna's really at its core a really kind of dark story about a person who's, you know, feels like they're out of options and are trapped and really struggles in their life before they decide to become a super spy assassin. And there's some really dark moments in that. And we talk a lot about the tone of these films, and I think the tone of the script in Anna and then the action that plays out and the way it's presented on the screen are really clashing with each other. And I really had a disconnect when you're looking at what the story is versus how it's portrayed on the screen. So I'll stop my blathering there and see what other people have to say.
My biggest problem with Anna, the script, I haven't sat down and gone through and figured out if there was a better way to do it, but I really hated the math that you had to do, where it was constantly 3 yees before this and 2 months before that and 5 years back and then 10 years forward. And it was, and I know that they cut it up and told the story in the way that would be best to reveal everything. I think Atomic Blonde achieved the same thing, but in a better, more efficient way by having the interview, bookending and providing the breaks without going into narration too much. So that's that. I think for writing is the biggest hang-up for me for Anna. But I like the story of Atomic Blonde that much better. I love the triple agent twist at the end, and this was actually the second time I've seen it, and I had forgotten some of the stuff, and it was, I liked Atomic Blonde script much better than Anna.
Yeah, I agree with you, Tom, in that the whole thing where, the whole timing and math thing, 5 years earlier and 3 years earlier and 6 months ago and 6 months from now, and that just didn't, it didn't really help me as far as putting the story together. And frankly, I don't think it was absolutely necessary. You could kind of tell when you were going back and forth without having to have those, titles to tell you how far you've traveled. You could tell without that. And I felt like Atomic Blonde's story. Well, I felt like it was a little bit the writing, especially from a dialogue standpoint and that kind of thing, was more subtle, and it added to the intrigue of the story because you didn't know exactly who was telling the truth and what was going on. And so I thought that the storytelling in Atomic Blonde was a little bit more elegant than Anna. I guess that's mostly what I had to say about the writing of it. Atomic Blonde was far more subtle and elegant in its storytelling than Anna was.
Oh, I guess we really are switching roles tonight because I'm going to disagree with everybody. Because I thought it was a much more well-written story. Merely because Atomic, and they both are very cliched in the genre that they are telling. They both have a little bit of the time stuff. They both kind of tell a story back and forth. I felt that Atomic Blonde just had way more cliches of a typical spy movie that just seemed like throwaways and easy writing just to get it across. The triple agent thing was just like, so I felt that it was obvious the first time I saw it. The whole thing with the list, like they have a thing called the list that's actually a list. Like it just seemed like all the other spy movies, and I don't know, like they had narration in it, which normally doesn't bother me, but then in the very end, McAvoy, he breaks the fourth wall at the very end, and I thought that was kind of weird why they decided to do that in the like the third, the beginning of the third act conflict, and that felt, I don't know why that was thrown in there, and it's not. There are other movies that do that I find it very odd that they haven't done any of that, and then all of a sudden they just throw it in. The interview stuff and being able to cut through to tell her story, like she's actually being interviewed and telling the story. That doesn't really bother me. It's stereotypical, and there's nothing wrong with that because it works. I don't know. I felt that Anna just provided a little bit more. I think it was Tom. I think where it's a much darker story. It's a connection with this girl that she has these demons inside of her, and she feels like she can't get out, and she is just really doing what she can for a means to an end, and that may be her end. And they do a little bit of the twists and turn with the double agent, not double agent stuff with her as well. I don't know if it was as clear because they definitely did in the writing. It was they would carry out an entire scene and then they would go back and retell the story from the other perspective in a sense. So that way you actually learned out what was happening, which again, for a spy movie is cliche, but I didn't mind it as much, and I don't know. I felt that the way that everything kind of developed and the characters' interactions, even with their dialogue, I felt was a little bit cleaner than Atomic Blonde. They had some really cool. They had a really cool. Wow, that the montage, which I guess is writing, but yeah, I had a better connection, I guess, maybe with Anna than I did with Atomic Blonde. It just kind of seemed, I don't know.
At what point do we feel like this type of movie is a genre in and of itself?
Spy movies?
No.
Oh.
Kind of, but with women.
Femme fatale?
Femme fatale?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a subgenre.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's like its own kind of genre anymore.
Yeah,
and I would say that it's similar to, like, if we were to be talking about a bank heist movie. There are cliches and similarities that you expect out of a bank heist movie, right? You're always going to have
a
this.
lot in common.
Right. And I would say both of these movies portrayed both of that in their writing. But each one pulled from different pieces of that spy, femme fatale genre cliches in a different way. But they both had them, right? And
oh yeah.
So I can't say that, oh well, Atomic Blonde was just all this cliche stuff. It just felt almost clumsy, and I don't know. And maybe maybe we'll get into this more with acting, but maybe it was just the character development that was with the characters, that you were just following this one person that she didn't really want to be there, but damn, she was good at what she did, versus just the badass spy that was there to kick ass and chew bubblegum and was all out of bubblegum type thing.
Well, what's really funny when we talk about that is I don't know if anybody noticed, but Anna really is kind of like La Femme Nikita. Well, that was the TV show based on, well, no, right. So it was called Nikita originally.
Yeah.
But that's a Luc Besson movie that he wrote and directed. So he kind of did the same thing again.
Yes.
I can agree with
years
that.
later. And that's just really strange to me, because why not, like, of course, I don't know how the rights work, but like, why not be like, I'm Luc Besson, I'm going to make La Femme Nikita again, and just do that instead of trying to make what is like a worse version of that, 30 years later.
That's kind of what I was thinking too. Is I was disappointed by how little growth he's shown since.
Yeah, it's kind of surprising.
La Femme Nikita and Professional. I love Fifth Element. I think Fifth Element's great, but it's harder. It's been harder and harder for me to watch his movies and get excited about them like I did back in 95. So it's just
this movie kind of made me realize Luc Besson's very hit or miss for me. But we talked. Sorry, go ahead, Tom.
Well, and I was going to say, as his budgets get smaller, I feel like you're seeing some of that too. It shows the cracks more.
Well,
we'll get into that in directing, but it just did not seem as polished as we've seen from him in the past.
Well, can we? I mean, we see. I guess I can't put that. If there's a genre that you really enjoy making, maybe he really enjoys making these kind of femme fatale. He did a similar with Lucy. That is kind of a femme fatale type movie as well. Maybe he really got on that and really started enjoying making those type of movies, and so there is those similarities. And again, it just goes back to look at National Treasure. It's National Treasure and National Treasure 2. They're the basic same movie. They just have different twists and turns and different excitements and different parts of it. But they're in the same genre. They have the same feel. And so, is Anna a remake, or is it just another different version of a similar type story? I guess I always go back to my bank heist movies. We watch those and we think they're great, and yet they're pretty similar for the most part. And depending on your director, sometimes they're the same.
Yeah. It's hard to think about that 30 years on, though, like retreading the same ground and what's to gain from that. And not really having anything original there that I could see. But yeah, we also talked about the timey-wimey play that goes on. And I know Gabe is on record as really hating that in a lot of movies. And I got to say that playing with time, you're not a fan of Christopher Nolan, his time shenanigans in Tenet.
Not in Tenet. I really love. I like actually. I'm not contradicting you entirely, Kyle, but I do like actually some of the time shenanigans. Like Pulp Fiction and Inception, and that I just felt like with Tenet it was too much. It was too confusing. It wasn't really enjoyable because you had to melt your brain to even figure out what the hell was going on.
Oh, we need to get off this now. We need to stop.
Yeah.
I enjoyed
Getting
Tenet.
curious.
I enjoyed Tenet, but I think he went too far with it. Memento?
No, the point I was
Memento
trying
is one
to
of those
make,
movies
though,
that messes with time a lot, and I really love that. So
That's the
point
thing,
I was
though, but
trying to
that's...
make is
Go
when
ahead.
we discussed it the last time is we like it if it serves the story, and I don't think that it added anything to Anna.
Oh, God, no.
That was the point I was trying to get to.
No,
Is
and
I
these
don't
weird
think that
time
it adds
jumps,
anything.
like 5 years later, 3 years earlier.
They could have
6 months later.
You're right. They
You know?
could have told the story sequentially in Anna without having to do the time jumps, and it probably would not have made any difference. Like there was no real excitement in going back and forth through time at the very beginning the way they did.
I felt
Obviously,
like
in order to make these work, deception is key, and a lot of times that deception is in not revealing something to the audience.
I felt like I was being told a story by like a 7-year-old, where they're like, "Oh wait, hang on a second, I forgot a part. So before all that happens, she actually called the Germans." I'm like, "Well, okay, well you should have said that when you were going to say it. When did that happen? 3 years before this." So anyway,
All right. Got to put it to a vote, fellas. Kyle.
Atomic Blonde.
Tom.
Atomic Blonde.
Andrew.
Anna.
And Gabe.
Atomic Blonde.
In Atomic Blonde, while the main focus in both the graphic novel and the script was always on the character Lorraine Broughton, played by Charlize Theron, in the film, some of the minor characters got a lot more attention than originally planned, including that of Sophia Boutella's Delphine. I'm going to say that wrong. Delphine LaSalle. She was originally a male character in the graphic novel. Lorraine is shown seducing him. Both characters are clothed, but you don't see any sex. That all changed for the film, says the film's director, David Leitch. Start that over. Take two. The relationship was flipped. Before I came on board, it was a great idea. You always have to find ways to contemporize these stories, reach bigger audiences, and be provocative in your storytelling.
I think Charlize Theron just wanted to cuddle up to Sophia.
I'm okay with that too.
Who doesn't?
This movie, or Anna, shares many story similarities with one of writer, producer, and director Luc Besson's previous movies, which Kyle spoke of, Nikita, and its American remake, Point of No Return.
Which was awful.
That's right, Bridget Fonda.
Yep, Bridget Fonda. Bridget Fonda.
Bridget Fonda.
Bridget Fonda.
That's her.
Spanish dessert sister.
That's her.
Yeah.
That's her Italian spaghetti Western counterpart, Bridget Fonda. All right, let's go on to our second round, which is acting.
I am a huge Helen Mirren fan. I've got a weird Harold and Maude crush on her, and I think she's fantastic. And so it pains me to say that I thought that with very few exceptions, I thought the acting in Anna was really quite awful. Like I thought Sasha Luce was not. I just didn't enjoy her acting at all. I didn't think it was very believable. I thought it was very stiff and wooden. And I just, I don't know. You know, when it's kind of like when they say, you know, how do you know what pornography is? You know it when you see it. But when you're watching a movie and there's bad acting, it just jumps out at you. And it just, I just felt that, I kind of felt like she didn't really know where she was in the story. Like she was almost as lost as in terms of what year she was in as the rest of us. So I thought Helen Mirren was really good playing Edith Mole from The Incredibles in this, and I like Cillian Murphy. I think he's really great, but I felt he was a little wasted in this, and he even came off kind of a little woodeny. And And so I have to wonder, if you have these really great actors at your disposal, if you're unable to use them, does it fall back on the director? But we can talk about that. On the other hand,
the writing.
What's that?
What does it? If you have these actors that you can't really use, I mean, it's like, does it fall back onto the story and the writing and the characters too?
Right.
You know?
And I'll be honest, I feel like in the case of Anna, I think it falls on a lot of different things. I mean, watching it, I felt like there was a lot of things wrong with this movie, but but Sasha's acting in particular really jumped out at me. That it was just not very good. Atomic Blonde, on the other hand, I wouldn't say that the acting was, I mean, it's not Oscar worthy or anything else, but I mean, Charlize is fantastic in everything she does. She's won an Oscar, and she's it's amazing to me that she's still able to balance that the comedy and the drama and the action in her career, and just kind of keep kicking ass and making people laugh. And she was just perfect for this role. And James McAvoy, I like him in just about everything, and he's a little more grungy in this than he usually is in movies. He's usually a little bit more kind of a clean cut kind of guy in his movies. So I kind of liked him as a little bit rough around the edges. And then I'll just end with John Goodman, amazing as always. He might be my favorite casting choice out of everybody in both movies.
Yeah, but his part was so small. He didn't do much. He just basically sat in the interview, and then at the end, he's on the airplane with her, which is too bad, because I like him too.
The scene where they climb the steps and they're looking over the wall at East Germany, that scene is, I love that scene. And it's one of those where like, oh, John Goodman is such a good actor. So,
and he needs to have more to do in this movie. He seemed like a really bit part in this movie.
I'm sure we'll talk about the sequel and whatnot, but I'm hoping he's in it. Hoping he comes back for it.
Yeah, I mean, geez. I can't believe Charlize Theron can do all of these really like physical, like action-packed type movies. I mean, she did this, and then she did Mad Max Fury Road, and that stuff just seems like exhausting. That she can pull off all of this really tough physical acting, and then also bring, the subtle emotion to it. I think, she's amazing. She really is just truly amazing. And she, like you said, Tom, she's great in just about everything she's ever done. I don't know how she does it. It's really quite incredible.
Yeah, I mean, she's a super talented actress and multifaceted. And when we talk about the supporting cast, I think it's really good in Atomic Blonde. I think Sophia Boutella, I think you said her name was. She was a little. I don't know. There's kind of you can identify like gaps between the levels of acting, I think, sometimes, and you see like some people are just not quite up to snuff. And I think James McAvoy is amazing. I don't think I've seen a bad James McAvoy movie or a bad James McAvoy performance. Probably the same with Charlize Theron now that I think about it. John Goodman. I always loved John Goodman. Not enough to do in this movie. I love Toby Jones too, and he had not a ton to do in this movie, other than interrogate. Again, I have no idea who the guy is behind the window. I'm not up on all my British actors, I suppose, but supporting cast is pretty good. I mean, we're always going to get like one thing I talk about with Anna is I think this might be one of the worst movies in almost everybody in this career. I really like Luke Evans, really like Cillian Murphy, and like Helen Mirren, and I think they're just kind of not great. It's very flat, not very good in this movie. I think it has a lot to do with directing and who their characters are and how well they're fleshed out and what they're given. But I just don't think they bring it. I think they have a lot more ability and talent that's being showcased here. And I don't want to jump on the Cine Agree bandwagon, but Sasha Lust is really wooden, and I think just not a professional actress. Obviously, she's not. She was a model, and this was supposed to be like a breakout role for her. And as you can see by her IMDb, she never really broke out. She's only been in 2 Luc Besson films and a couple other small bit parts. I think there's a good reason for that. I think that she's just not up to this. But, and that's okay, but just not great. And I got to say, I don't know why. Talk about, they cast British people for America. They can pull it off really well. Why do we keep casting British people as Russians? Because it's so obvious. Their accent is so bad. And I just don't know why they keep doing that. I mean, find a Russian actor. You don't have to spend the money to get Helen Mirren. You don't have to spend the money to get Luke Evans. Straight up find a Russian actor who will do about as good a job as they did in these movies that they were given. And you'll have more money to make your fight scenes not seem so comical. Yeah.
Yeah, but I kind of like Helen Mirren and I kind of like her in this for some reason, because I feel like it's a little bit of a departure for her. That she's playing someone so kind of evil and ruthless. It's kind of not what you expect from her. And I liked her in this, and she was maybe a highlight as far as the acting was concerned. And obviously they didn't cast Sasha Luss or Luce, I don't know how you pronounce it. They didn't cast her for her acting ability. They cast her because she's just so fantastic to look at. And she's enjoyable to watch. And I have to give her a little bit of credit for the physical aspect of this movie, because she like Charlize had to go through quite a physical part to play this character, and I don't know if that counts much for acting. And I feel like there's potential there, but she wasn't given it. There was a scene where after she got basically kind of captured by the Americans and had to make that deal, and then she went and she was in front of Helen Mirren's character, and she kind of was breaking down a little bit and tired, and I felt like there was potential there for her to do a really good, to have a really meaningful scene. But I just feel like maybe she's not, it's not a great performance by any means, but I feel like there's some potential there. But I don't know. And and how do you say it, Tom? Cillian Murphy?
Cillian, yes, Cillian. Yeah, it's a hard scene. I always like him. He's engaging in everything he's in, even if it's not a great part like this. There's something really interesting about his look too. I don't know. He's just really engaging on screen. I enjoyed him in Anna. Charlize Theron was great. James McAvoy was great. A lot of great acting in on the Atomic Blonde side, I think. I don't know. What do you think, Andrew?
Well, I would definitely say that I agree with some of this. I would say that Sasha Luss, perhaps, I have to give her a little bit of credit because her character is dead inside. Her character is very wooden. Now, maybe she was picked because that's how well she plays it, and that's what she can do. She didn't have a wide range of emotion. She doesn't really have a wide, she can't go from one extreme to the other very well. She was just kind of the same person throughout the entire movie. And, she was never really happy. She was never really sad. She was just there. And I don't know if that was just because that's the character they wanted to portray, this dark, I'm completely dead, I'm a shell of a person. And if that's the case, then she pulled it off immediately.
Well, yeah, but I think I'm totally down with that. But when she's around Maude, I feel like there's got to be something. I mean, when the two of them are, so much in love, show something that that's kind of the part where I was like, if she's going to be wooden in the scenes with her lover, then that's not good.
Yeah, but I mean, even like Lyra Abova is probably I hated her as her lover and the whole flirty stuff. Like it just something didn't fit. Like it was really awkward with her, and I'm not sure. I don't know. I really loved Helen Mirren, as the KGB, basically in charge of the KGB in this just dirty rock that had seen shit. Is basically the way I saw that character. Flipping over to Atomic Blonde, though, Charlize Theron is absolutely incredible. She does amazing work in lots of different roles and such. James McAvoy, the one thing that really drew me out with Atomic Blonde right away with him is if you were ever to remake Fight Club, I would make him Tyler Durden, because he just has this dark grittiness to him in this movie that just spoke to me. That was like he could do Tyler Durden really well. But there are just so many really crazy good acting that really happened with Atomic Blonde, and I don't know if it was just a difference in characters and the story, but there was in Anna, there's a lot of stuff that went flat, and I don't know if that was just the tone that was being attempted. The only last piece of it is I want to give a shout out to both actors for their extreme ability to be able to do some of the fighting choreography that is portrayed in both of these movies. It's very. We'll get into more of that, but. No matter well or bad or whatever, there's a lot of training, a lot of choreography, and working with stunt doubles and everything else in between. And wow, to both of them, just wow. So,
agreed.
All right, we done with acting. Let's put it to a vote. Tom.
Atomic Blonde.
Andrew.
Atomic Blonde.
Gabe.
Yeah, I think it's hard to argue against Charlize Theron and James McAvoy, so Atomic Blonde.
Kyle.
Yep, Atomic Blonde.
All right. This is the second big screen appearance by Sasha Luss, both times directed by Luc Besson. The first was Valerian in the City of a Thousand Planets. This time, she's the main character.
Did anyone ever see that Valerian movie?
I did.
Was it any good?
I did.
It's all right. Like, I really like the concept.
I don't feel that it was the next step up from The Fifth Element.
Correct.
Like, that's what everyone was like. This is his thing he's been working on ever since, and it was going to blow The Fifth Element away. No. Not even close.
Nope.
Oh, is this Valerian?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, it was good, and it was enjoyable. It was a popcorn movie, but it definitely didn't blow The Fifth Element out of the water.
Right.
Yeah, again, like with Luke, I was waiting for it to go to the next level, and it was. I was like, well, if I ever want to watch Valerian, I'll just put in Fifth Element.
Yep. Before filming resumed with Atomic Blonde, James McAvoy broke his hand on the set of Split and had to endure all his action scenes with his injured hand.
That cast may not have been
a prop.
Correct.
Yeah, that was for
correct.
Real, kind of.
So this is what we're going to do. We're going to cut it off for the first part of the shoot because we need you without it. And then you can put it back on for the rest of it. Sorry.
Yep.
Wow.
All right. Let's go to our third round. Directing.
I would say both of these directors have done some pretty amazing films. With Luc Besson, we've already talked about probably the most notable of The Fifth Element. That, I mean, it's just a brilliant movie. It's fun to watch. It's exciting. It's well done. And he's done Nikita and Lucy and obviously Anna and Valerian that we just talked about. He did Joan of Arc too, right? Yep, Joan of Arc. So he's definitely has a style. He definitely has a way, and I would agree with everyone that has said, it's a hit or miss with him. He has these amazing visions and he has really cool ideas, and I believe that he can do a really cool story and he can direct a really cool movie. It's just sometimes they're really awesome and sometimes they're just kind of like, I'm glad I had some popcorn for that. And that's just who he is. Now, well, we'll get into that in a second. As with David Leitch, he did Deadpool 2. He helped with the first John Wick, and then obviously Atomic Blonde, and then I didn't realize he did Hobbs and Shaw, which I enjoyed. I thought was well done and funny. And he's doing the new Bullet Train, which I've seen trailers for, which look fantastic. So he also does quite a few of these, but it seems like the films that he has actually been a director or part of have been pretty all the way. Like they're just solid movies. And I don't know if that's just the scripts that he's picking, the projects that he's being put on. There is some skill and such involved in that. But I would say that both directors have a really good eye for action sequences. You can't fault either one of them for that. There are multiple times in Atomic Blonde and in Anna where it's not your traditional Marvel dark shaky cam quick cuts where you have no idea. I mean, there are long shots where they follow. Basically, you're in close during the fights, watching Charlize Theron go through and dodge and kick and shoot and roll on the ground. And there are similar ones in Anna. Anna is doing all of these rolls and flops and picking guys up and throwing them around and then shooting. And it's all one just big long shot and there's no cuts. And these directors did such a good job, both of them, with the choreography. And part of that goes to obviously the stunt coordinators, your stunt actors, probably a lot to your actors, being able to merge all of that and be able to deliver those in those high impact scenes. And they, it's very uncommon in a lot of action sequences like that in today, where you get these, you're in close, you're able to follow the action, where things are, and it's not just a bunch of quick cuts and hit there and that, and it's over, and they both did a really nice job with that. I think they both have a really nice eye for a lot of the stuff that they are shooting. There are some absolutely gorgeous shots in Atomic Blonde some just really wide shots. And of course that also goes off to your cinematographer being able to, and your director of photography, to be able to line those shots up and get these just massive. And there are just some really cool connections that they do in Anna with like the chessboard and going back and forth and merging the two shots. And I think they even did a little bit of that in Atomic Blonde. So there's a lot of similarities to the story and how it's told from the camera's perspective. And I felt that they were both relatively well done. I mean, they're the same genre. So yeah, I don't know. I don't want to, I can ramble on about both of them because, both of them have made some fantastic movies that I think I could talk about for a long time. So
yeah, until I saw Lucy, I thought Luke Besson had kind of lost his edge. I liked Lucy. I thought it was fun and it had enough of a different angle on it from his other movies. But then this one kind of set me back and just a little disappointed in it. David Leitch I think he's one of the best action directors we have right now. I mean, John Wick, Deadpool, Atomic Blonde, and then Bullet Train looks like it's just going to be a blast. Because his action scenes are so fun. And that stairway scene from the street and then up into the hallway and then back out to the car and then the car chase is 10 minutes. It's 10 minutes. It's a 10-minute wonder, and that's insane. And it's so much fun too. As a filmmaker too, where it's like, buckle in because this is going to be pretty wild, and you're almost caught up into the whole. You're yelling at the screen, just like just cut for God's sakes. But the other, half of you is just hanging on, saying, "Please don't stop. I want to see how far you can take this." It is, and the fight scenes are. Even the first fight scene where she's just fighting off the two guys, and he just took the camera and he just frames it up, and she just goes back and forth and beats the shit out of both of them. And there'll be time to move the camera around later. Let me just show you what she can do. It's inspired, and I love it, and I can't wait to see what he does next.
Yeah, I didn't know what category to talk about that stuff in, but. Well, there's a couple of things. I think one of the things we talk about in this category is cinematography. Although that I don't think that's entirely attributed to the director, but the choice of the cinematographer and the kind of the decision on what the film should look like really comes down to the director. And I don't think there's any comparison between the two as far as the cinematography is concerned. It's so in Atomic Blonde, it's so dramatic and so beautiful all the time, and it just the cinematography is just great. Now, there's nothing really wrong with the cinematography of Anna, but it's to a certain degree it's very functional. It in most cases it doesn't really. The colors or the angles or those kinds of things aren't necessarily all that outstanding. But Atomic Blonde, just the feeling of it is just so consistent and so unique and so beautiful throughout. And then I think we got to talk about that single take that Tom was mentioning. I think it's one of the best single take scenes in cinema history. It's so fantastic. Now, it may be one of those where it's kind of it's a hybrid. It's not a real single take.
Oh, it definitely is.
And there's actual cuts in there, but they mask those cuts with camera moves and visual effects and that kind of thing. But that's okay because it's still so fantastically executed. It's just wonderful. It's my favorite part of the whole movie. And the best thing is that I don't think there's any music. It's just that and the sound effects of her kicking ass and trying to survive. Another one that I think of that comes to mind that's kind of like that, it's kind of a hybrid scene is from Kingsman, the church scene in Kingsman, which is another one of my favorite scenes in all of cinema history. It's just fantastic. And there's so many of those that I think we could talk about. Maybe you guys could share some of your favorite single takes. And I think that's very much a directorial choice because you really, really have to plan that shit out to make that work. And I think it's obviously I think it's fantastic. Now I think the direction of Anna is very solid. Like we talked before, I'm not sure that there's a lot of emphasis on the acting, and coaching the actors in these scenes. But I think the directing is very solid. And there's the scene where she goes into the restaurant to kill some mark. I don't remember why she had to go get this guy and get his phone or whatever. But that scene is really, it's not a single take. It's not like what we were just talking about, but it's a really well executed scene.
It is.
There's a lot going on. The editing, maybe we give credit to we give in this category. We also give credit to cinematographers and editors. The editing in that scene is really top notch because it comes across as very seamless. There's a lot of chaos. There's a lot of shit going on, but it comes across as very seamless. And that scene is particularly well done, and that's one of my favorite scenes in Anna. So I think Luc Besson is obviously a he's an accomplished director. He's made some great movies, and I think he really this is a very, very competently directed movie, but maybe not quite as awesome as Atomic Blonde.
What's interesting is, we talk about a lot of directors that like to stick with similar actors throughout, Tim Burton's that have a lot of the same actors, and it's interesting because Luc Besson is the director for a lot of these movies that we've talked about, and his cinematographer in Anna is Thierry Arbogast, I believe is how you say it, is the same cinematographer for pretty much all of Luc Besson's movies. So he did The Professional, he did Fifth Element, and the same goes with David Lynch. Jonathan Sella is the cinematographer and has basically been his cinematographer for all of the movies he's directed. So it's kind of interesting that it's not just director to actor, it's also director to some of the crew members that they find that they work well with.
Right.
Yeah,
Sorry,
it's
Kyle,
funny.
I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good. Last month when we talked about music in those movies, they talked about finding someone you connect with, that you kind of can jam with, and it's easy to have like a communication with. And a lot of directors find that with cinematographers, and they follow them throughout their careers because they have that kind of relationship. So I think that's interesting. Another thing you mentioned, and it's kind of got me thinking, Luc Besson is not necessarily one of those people who sticks with the same core of actors. Think about all the people he's had in all these films we're talking about. Jean Reno and Natalie Portman, Chris Tucker, Bruce Willis, Helen Mirren, Luke Evans, non-actors that he brings in. So he really works with a lot of different actors, which I think is really cool. I think it's cool to see that over time, that you don't just fall back on, you kind of challenge yourself and you get different flavors from all these people. Yeah, the action in these movies are the things that really are standout. And in Atomic Blonde, it's very gritty and kinetic and full of energy. And I think that works really well for the movie. The rest of it, the pacing is a little off to me in places. It feels a bit long and draggy. Same for Anna, though. Although I think some of the fight scenes, the one we're talking about in the restaurant, very cool introduction to be like, okay, this is what this movie is going to be. When you see action, it's going to be this crazy, like all hands on deck, massive fight. But at a certain point, there are bodyguards coming out of places. It's like a level in a video game where there's just a door where they nonstop spawn. Like, what does this guy have? 40 bodyguards? So that got a little bit comical at points, but I totally get the idea of it. I think Anna is competently directed. I think it really suffers is the acting department. But Atomic Blonde, the action, the cinematography. I think both these movies do a really good job as well of capturing like the cold grittiness, the sterility of like communist rule, and like that dark. I mean, in Anna, it's very much their kind of dark green outfits and the brown wood everywhere and leather and ugly carpets, and things are cheap and don't work, and it feels very of the time and era. So I thought that was really cool. And I don't know. I think both these movies were, I don't know. I'm running out. I'm totally done.
Real quick, I know we're out of time. Give me a second. I just want to say real quick, we usually hit music, right, in the directing?
No. Overall.
Okay, then I'll shut the hell up then.
Yeah. That definitely needs to be discussed in the...
Does anybody spy on communist countries in the summertime? It's true. It's always fucking cold and snowing.
Right.
I get St. Petersburg is really far north.
Is there summertime in communist countries?
Yes.
In Soviet Russia, summer has you. All right, Andrew. Vote.
This one is really close for me. So I'm gonna go with Anna, but this one was really on the line for me. This was a hard choice between the two.
All right. Gabe?
Yeah, I think I have to go very strongly for Atomic Blonde.
Kyle.
Atomic Blonde.
And Tom.
I'm going to go with Atomic Blonde because my name is in the title. Tom, Atomic.
Atomic.
Get it?
Atomic Blonde.
You're just meant to make a mycic blonde. Let's just cut that part out.
Kylic.
Tom.
Hey, do you have any trivia about directing, Mike?
I do.
Let's do it.
An atomic bomb blonde.
That's a different movie. That is a different movie, Mike.
I feel like I might have broken it.
You broke me. Carl F. Bircher's watch is featured prominently in the movie. The director, David Leitch, is a brand ambassador for the watch company. The watch brand is also worn by the title character in John Wick, a movie that was co-directed by Leitch.
Oh, so the director of Atomic Blonde worked on John Wick. You can see that, right?
You can
make
totally
that
see
connection.
that. Yeah, there's a very stylistic similarity there.
So did the cinematographer. So Jonathan Sala did as well.
Yeah. But it worked.
Writer, producer, and director Luc Besson was accused of sexual misconduct during production of this movie. Although no charges were filed due to lack of evidence, the studio and distributors subsequently distanced themselves from the movie, releasing it without official screenings and with only a minimum of publicity. Good Lord, what is wrong with this? This movie, which was supposed to be the breakthrough for model-turned-actress Sasha Luss, only made $30 million worldwide, which could mean the end for Besson's Eurocore studio, which was already struggling from his previous box office failure, Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets.
Valerian and the City of a Thousand Bills.
Hey-oh!
Yeah, I wonder what the budget was for that movie. Ooh,
It was pretty big.
4th round. Overall.
Yeah, I think one thing we definitely need to talk about here, especially with Atomic Blonde, is the music. Tom clearly has something to say there. And then I had another topic which escapes me right now. So I'll let Tom kind of start out his thoughts on the music.
So I watched Anna 2 nights ago, and I was really struck by how horrible the score is for Anna. It was almost as if they couldn't afford a good composer or rights to music. Like there was a limited budget or something. It felt very canned and like it wasn't quite right. But the music in Atomic Blonde, I went today to go look to see if I could find the vinyl of the album, and it's like $100, so screw that. But it's it looks the soundtrack for Atomic Blonde is so. I mean, every song is just a gem, and I mean, if you can beat somebody up to George Michael's father figure, by all means.
That was great. I gotta say though, whenever someone announces we're shooting a movie about the 80s in Germany, do you think Nina gets all excited knowing 99 Luft Balloons is going to be in it at least once?
Which version do you want? Which version do you want?
Shit.
Do you want the German, the American?
I know.
Now that being said, I felt like they maybe leaned on that a little bit too much. They leaned on the genre type music a little too much sometimes.
Oh, I don't know.
I mean, it obviously fit, but I felt like they featured it a little more than they should have. It felt to me sometimes like they were trying to sell you $100 vinyl record.
No, look, that was okay. Yeah, truth be told, I probably have all those songs somewhere already on iTunes, but just the I remember the Berlin Wall coming down and what that was like, and realizing that holy shit, countries can like change their borders and their name, and what country you belong to can be different tomorrow. It just fucking blew my mind. And then the only thing I ever did during that time was I did, there was that news, but everything else was MTV. And so this, I mean, that's all we watched was MTV constantly. And that's why I think the music was just perfect for it, because it took me back to it. So, I mean, if they're appealing to 45-year-old guys from the 80s, good job.
They even had Kurt Loder in the damn thing.
Yeah, they did. He's
great.
Yeah, geez. God, that reminds me. I wrote to one of those MTV VJs back then. There was a girl.
Was it Kennedy?
I don't remember her name now, but I thought she was cute. So I wrote to her, and she actually wrote back. And this was these are the days before, the interwebs and the emails and all that jazz. And so I had to actually send off a letter, and she actually read it and sent back a, signed photograph and stuff. So yeah, that takes me back a little bit. Yeah, I didn't hate the music. I thought the music fit perfectly, but I did feel like sometimes it was almost like a music video. And the very first time that I saw Atomic Blonde, I felt like it was a little bit of style over substance. Like, the cinematography and the clothing and the music and the graphics, even the graphics where they do the kind of spray paint like things where it says, I don't know, Berlin or whatever it said. I felt like at times it was a little bit too much style over substance. But upon a subsequent viewing, a second viewing, I enjoyed it more. I appreciated the writing more. The acting was really good. I also felt like at times that there was a little bit of gratuitous Charlize Theron nudity. Like we didn't have to see her naked.
There is no such thing.
Hey, you calm down. Hey,
I'm not complaining. I'm a male that enjoys that kind of stuff.
Gabe,
but
get out.
Yeah.
I felt like it was a little, and they verged on that a little bit with Anna too. Like, these characters are, though, you can justify it to a certain degree because these characters need to use their sexuality to, for their jobs, for to a certain degree. But there were times the first viewing I thought there was kind of like, well, we don't need to see Charlize naked so often.
Dude, what are you doing?
I know. But on the second viewing, I didn't think it was as gratuitous.
Game.
For some reason. I don't know. I enjoyed it a little bit more.
I disagree 100%.
That there should have been more. There should have been more.
She
should have done some of those fight scenes.
Never.
Her clothes should have gotten ripped off, and
never tell her that she can't. She's proud of that. Let her show it to us.
She's fantastic.
That would have been just. I can't imagine what a naked fight scene looks like. There must be some.
There is one, but it's not.
Shit! Viggo Mortensen, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
right. That's right. Yeah,
I'm sure if you look hard enough, there are plenty that you can find that may or may not be appropriate.
And I think the other thing that I wanted to talk about a little bit more in this category, which we kind of touched on, was some of your guys' favorite single take, long take scenes in cinema history, because obviously Atomic Blonde features a really fantastic one. So what are some of the other ones that come to your guys' mind? What do you guys remember and like as far as single takes?
What sticks out to me is Children of Men.
Yes.
That for sure. Fantastic. Great Children of Men. And then the movie Rope, which I know we've talked about by
Rope.
Alfred Hitchcock.
Yeah.
Has some great one takes in it.
Yeah, that's an early experiment in that. And even the earliest experiments in single take use some trickery to because they only, I think the film reels, they could only get about 10 minutes of actual filming in. So they had to do a bunch of stuff where they, like, at about 10 minutes, it would go behind a character or behind a piece of furniture or whatever, and temporarily go to black, and then they could cut to the next reel, basically. Yeah.
Can I throw the easy one out?
Easy one.
Yeah, 1917.
Oh, well, yeah, God.
Oh, 1917.
I realize that there's lots of tricks involved.
I thought you said the movie was the easy one, but now.
But I mean, dear
Fantastic.
Lord, I mean, it is so well done and so well executed that it's just
trickery again, but just beautiful.
And Saving Private Ryan does some majestic long shots that are the same way, and I know that there's a lot of trickery involved there, but they do a really good job with it, especially at Omaha Beach.
Can I just say some of that stuff makes me angry? That people are talented enough to do it, and makes me mad at myself. Sure. I'm like, God, like someone came up with that, planned it, shot it, edited it, and it came off so well that I'm just like, you kind of like, well, screw you for being so great. This makes me feel bad about everybody who makes a movie.
Another one that comes to mind that isn't like, like a 10-minute long one, but Star Trek Into Darkness. When they first show the Enterprise, they do this glorious beauty shot. The camera keeps going by, and then they fly all the way down and through the bridge, and then they have this entire scene on the bridge that doesn't cut, and it goes from space and down through into the bridge, and I thought that was a pretty amazing one shot. Again, there's a lot of digitalness that's going on there and stuff, and a lot of helping, but damn, that was
there's
a
lot
cool
of modern technology that aids in the creation of those scenes, and so it gives you a little bit more appreciation for the older ones, like Touch of Evil, which is considered maybe one of the earliest examples of that. But
the player, there's one at the beginning of The Player that's really great too, Robert Altman's film, where they're
he's well known for doing long takes, right?
Yeah, and then Goodfellas, we have to see Goodfellas.
Oh yeah.
We'll get
the show True Detective has a really good one-take escape scene in like a project's housing area. That's really awesome. And then I just remember the movie. I don't know if it's the first or the second one, but Creed has like an entire boxing round or two that happen without cuts.
Really,
which is pretty nuts.
Yep, it's in Creed.
That's a lot of movement and choreography that you can't screw up.
Hard boiled.
Yeah. The Shining.
Shootout. Yeah.
The Shining.
Yeah.
He follows the kid down like multiple hallways.
Yeah. Oh, the TV show The Haunting of Hill House.
Oh, yeah.
There's a whole episode that's one take, and it switches actors in the middle from kids to adults.
A movie that is similar to Anna, but all you have to do is add an H, and that's Hannah.
Hannah, yeah.
Hannah has some amazing long takes.
Yeah, and I think one of the other things we need to talk about maybe is this genre, if you will. Would you guys consider this type of film its own genre to a certain degree? These femme fatale.
Yeah, femme fatale, I think, is what it's usually known as.
It's a subgenre.
I think there's a subgenre, a subgenre of that too, where there's like these children, which are like
yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about? Like they're like genetically engineered kids that,
or they're loners that are found by a government and trained, or something like that.
Splice, Black Widow, all those.
Yeah, I think Hannah was like that too.
Hannah was like that.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to me that they're all named, almost all of them are named after the female character, the main character. Almost all of them. La Femme Nikita. Well, Colombiana. There's another one,
Ex Machina wasn't.
No, and that's a little different. She's not really an assassin, but, then there's other ones like Red Sparrow, Salt, Ava. There's another one that's named after it. It's really kind of an interesting subgenre to me that there's so many of them that everybody thinks they can do this and reinvent this and make it interesting somehow.
But again, the femme fatale and similar stories such as the subgenre of the child femme fatale. I'm not sure how we categorize that, but you could say that for a lot of things. There are Transformer movies. There's the giant creature movies. The Godzillas and the King Kongs and
Kaiju.
The kaiju with Pacific Rims. And so, I mean, I would say that there are genres that are done over and over and over again where the story is similar, but it's a little bit different. I mean, we've all talked about Transformers, Kaiju, King Kong, and Godzilla making one big movie, and it would all fit because it would make sense because they're all very similar movies. So I don't know if you can. I mean, that happens. I still go back to our one room, like Clue, those type of movies. Those are they're hard to make, but they're popular. Bank heist movies. I don't know if that's technically a genre, but you would think it would be. Heist movies.
So how do you creatively twist this genre?
And that's hard. I would say
what
that's
if
really
what
hard.
What if you have like two femme fatales kind of after each other?
Yeah.
Do we have
Killing
that?
Eve is a bit like that, I want to say.
The TV
I would
show?
say that that's true.
Yeah, I don't know, but you're right. I mean, it's someone will mess with it. Like always, people will find new ways to bring life to these otherwise, would feel like kind of played out and repeated genres.
You forgot The Professional. I mean, that.
Well, and
The Professional is a really unique one where it's an adult and a child, which is, that you don't see that very often. It's usually,
the child.
Well,
grows up.
and you could say to a certain degree. I guess I don't know where La Femme Nikita. I feel like La Femme Nikita came before The Professional.
It did.
90, I think.
Yeah,
in the 90s.
But I feel like The Professional was kind of a bit of a twist on the whole genre because she was a kid and she was trying to train to become kind of like an assassin. And I have to say that's one of my favorite Luc Besson movies is The Professional. That one I think was really well done. And great acting and Gary Oldman was a little bit over the top, but
Gary Oldman was perfect. You shut your mouth.
Yeah,
shut up. He was great.
He was crazy, but it was really great.
Everyone thinks he's great.
You're gonna
except for Gabe.
Have you seen the 355? That's a femme fatale, and it's four
like
of them
a group,
actually.
Yeah, there's kind of been a lot of female group movies.
Yep.
That are either heist movies or revenge movies now that have come out in the last, I'd say, 10 years.
Because the 355,
So
the 355 is about basically spies and assassins from all the different countries, and they're all females, and they're the top spies, and they all get together.
Oh yeah. Yep.
So that's kind of a twist on what you're saying.
All right, we are out of time, fellas. Do you have anything else you want to add for either one of these movies? I don't think you do because we've gone on to discussing other films.
That's usually a good sign.
Yeah. All right, let's put it to a vote. Gabe?
I'm going to go Atomic Blonde.
And Kyle?
Yeah, clean sweep for me, Atomic Blonde.
Tom?
Atomic Blonde.
Andrew?
I know it doesn't matter, but I'm going with Anna.
All right. I don't have any trivia for this round, so why don't you guys give us your recommendations for this month, and I will get out the calculator. We'll start with Kyle.
Oh, me first. Okay, so I know before we talked here, I talked about watching a movie for the first time, and I really liked it. But I actually watched another movie this weekend that I'm going to recommend, and it is called The Northman. It was directed by, I want to say his name is Robert Eggers, who may be one of my favorite directors going right now. Director of The Witch and The Lighthouse. Huge fan, and I really like The Northman. Another one of those It's not really like anything else. It feels like, I think the thing you can compare it to most is other Robert Eggers movies, because it's part of his style. But lots of action, very cool, powerful film about the ideas of fate and legacy, and really feels like a Norse mythology or tale come to life in a realistic way, and I really liked it. So I absolutely recommend The Northman to anyone.
It's a Viking story that's similar to Braveheart with a lot more realism.
Yeah, I've read
I really
articles
enjoyed
about
it.
it that people were actually upset because of the realism that was in the movie, that it wasn't fantasy enough.
Because everybody has this glorious magic of Vikings are these great things, and they were barbarians, and this movie shows that.
All right, thanks, Kyle.
Yeah, man.
Tom.
I am going to go with one of the stars in this this set of two movies, and I think people should watch more Charlize Theron. So I'm going to recommend that people check out a TV show called Arrested Development and track down the 5 episodes where she is in it, playing Rita Leeds, Michael's love interest for 5 episodes. She is a comic genius. I think I got into Arrested Development, and then Mad Max came out, and I decided that Charlize probably has the greatest range, that she can do dopey slapstick, but then she keeps trying to but she does the dopey slapstick really well, but then she can also beat up 12 guys. So Arrested Development, I believe it's season 3, but definitely worth checking out because she is hysterical.
All right, thanks, Tom. Andrew.
Well, I'm actually somewhat going to stick with this genre, and and actually it's one that we just talked about, and that's the 355. That was Jessica Chastain, Lupita Nyong, I think is how you say your last name, Penelope Cruz, Diane Kruger, Fan Bingbing, and it's a very femme fatale. It is the top 5 spy assassins from 5 different countries. They all end up having to get together and working together. Of course, they all hate each other, and they all want to kill each other, and they have to end up working together. And it fits right into this genre and this style, and there's lots of awesome action and deceit and back and forth between being double agents and all that other stuff. So it's really, really good. I highly recommend it. And that the 355. So
all right, thank you, Andrew. Gabe.
Well, I'm going to have to go with one of my favorite femme fatales.
Blade Runner.
Jennifer Garner. What's that?
Blade Runner.
Blade Runner. I recommend Blade Runner every time. You just go with that. Just consider that my vote every month. I'm going to go with Jennifer Garner and Alias. It's a show that I really loved when it was on, and she really kicked ass. And she's hot. And here's some trivia for you. I actually worked with her briefly, but I didn't know. I had no idea. I worked with her on a TV movie that was filmed in Kelowna, Iowa. And but aside from that, I really enjoyed Alias. It's one of those things that I feel like you don't necessarily want to. You may not want to revisit because it may ruin your memory of it. But I think I might have to revisit it sometime soon because I really enjoyed the intrigue and the action of Alias.
All right. Thank you, Gabe. Mine is kind of it's going to cover a couple spaces. It's not femme fatale, but it does have John Goodman in it, and I love him in this movie. It's directed by Robert Zemeckis. It's written by John Gatins. It stars Don Cheadle, John Goodman, and Gabe's favorite, Denzel Washington. It's called Flight. And John Goodman's character in this movie makes the movie for me. So I would highly recommend Flight. All right.
Ooh.
Let's poke the monkey.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? Your winner by decision is Atomic
Bloodbath.
Yeah.
Yep, Bloodbath.
Bloodbath.
We would appreciate it if you could leave us a review on whatever podcasting service you use. It helps us reach new listeners. If you like us, tell your friends. If you hate us, go yell it at your enemies. You can contact us at cinesmack@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Just search Cinesmack. In July, we talk about two tall tales as they vie for our views. It's The Lone Ranger versus John Carter. And I get to be a panelist. Tom's going to be your judge next month.
I don't have to watch that shit.
Alliterations aside.
For Gabe, Tom, Kyle, Andrew, and myself, thanks for listening, and go catch a flick.
This has been a test of the Southsider Studios podcast system. This was only a test. If this were a true lack of entertainment, your head would explode. Go to iTunes and subscribe to our feed. Just search Southsider Studios.
Ryan Seacrest here. When you have a busy schedule, it's important to maximize your downtime. One of the best ways to do that is by going to ChumbaCasino.com. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino games like spin slots, bingo, and solitaire that you can play for free for a chance to redeem some serious prizes. So hop on to ChumbaCasino.com now and live the Chumba life. Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply.